Backhanded colonization, how the history of tennis serves Stanley Kubrick's themes in The Shining. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is a kaleidoscope of symbolism and subtext, tackling themes of madness, power, and the ghosts of history. While axes, elevators, and hedge mazes take centre stage, there's a surprisingly ripe subject lurking in the background: the history of tennis. Yes, tennis, the seemingly genteel sport of Wimbledon whites and polite applause, becomes a hilariously unexpected lens through which to view Kubrick's exploration of Western colonization and the abuses of power. From its aristocratic beginnings to its role in spreading European culture to the far corners of the globe, tennis embodies the top-down imposition of Western values on subjugated societies. In The Shining, this thematic resonance dovetails beautifully with the Overlook Hotel's aura of imperial arrogance, its blood-soaked history, and its symbolic place as a monument to conquest. Let's serve up some analysis, pun intended, and see how Kubrick's ghostly nightmare intersects with the game of volleys and net. Tennis and the colonial mindset. Tennis originated as a game for European royalty, known as jeu de paume in medieval France. Over centuries, it transformed from an aristocratic pastime to a global sport, often carried to distant lands alongside muskets, flags, and a side of cultural imperialism. A sport for the elite, tennis was designed to reflect the hierarchy of the ruling class, much like the Overlook Hotel reflects the privilege and arrogance of its upper-crust clientele. With its vast ballrooms and gold-lined walls, the hotel feels like the sort of place where colonial powers might have toasted their latest conquest. Tennis and Western dominance, as European powers spread their influence, they brought tennis to colonies as a symbol of their civilized culture. This mirrors the Overlook's dominance over its surroundings, from its exploitation of Native American land to its cultural erasure of everything that came before. The Overlook Hotel as a tennis court of colonial guilt. The Overlook is, in essence, a symbolic tennis court where the abuses of Western power play out. Jack Torrance's descent into madness is like a brutal tennis match, volleys of rage, a constant struggle for dominance, and the eerie sense that everyone is being watched by an audience of ghosts. Power dynamics at the Overlook, much like tennis pits players in an adversarial contest, the Overlook pits its inhabitants against each other in a battle of psychological and supernatural domination. Jack, egged on by the hotel, becomes the ultimate imperial force, seeking to impose his will on Wendy and Danny. Ghostly spectators, the ballroom scene with its phantom partygoers feels like a courtside match watched by an elite audience. These are the spirits of imperial powers past, applauding Jack's ace moves as he spirals into violence. Wimbledon and the Western ideal. The culture of tennis, epitomized by Wimbledon, exemplifies the top-down imposition of Western European values. The sport's rules, etiquette, and traditions mirror the very power structures that Kubrick critiques in The Shining. Wimbledon whites and the Overlook's decorum, just as tennis insists on rigid dress codes and quiet decorum, the Overlook enforces a facade of elegance. Beneath the surface, however, both are arenas for raw power struggles, whether it's a heated rally or Jack swinging an axe. Polite colonialism, tennis, with its polite applause and gentlemanly conduct, masks a history of exclusivity and dominance. Similarly, the Overlook's grandeur conceals its violent past, including its appropriation of Native American land and its role as a site of murder and mayhem. The tennis ball, a symbol of domination, one of The Shining's eeriest moments involves a tennis ball. Jack is sitting at his typewriter when a tennis ball mysteriously rolls toward him, seemingly thrown by an unseen force. This small, unsettling detail ties directly into the history of tennis as a symbol of Western control. The tennis ball as a tool of power, In tennis, the ball is the focus of the game, a literal object of control. In the overlook, it becomes a ghostly reminder of the power dynamics at play, with unseen forces representing imperial histories exerting their influence over Jack. A volley from the past, the ball's trajectory suggests a volley from the ghosts of history, a sinister back and forth between past abuses and present madness. It's as if the hotel itself is playing a game with Jack, luring him deeper into its web. The hedge maze, the colonial court reimagined. The hedge maze outside the Overlook Hotel is a perfect metaphor for the labyrinthine effects of colonialism. Just as imperial powers reshaped entire societies, the maze disorients and traps its victims, leaving them at the mercy of the one who knows the rules, in this case Danny. Danny's triumph, in the film's climax, Danny outmaneuvers Jack in the hedge maze, turning the tables on the would-be colonizer. It's a moment of anti-imperial resistance, with the child of the oppressed outsmarting the agent of control. The maze as a colonial legacy, the maze's geometric precision, reflects the colonial obsession with order and control. Yet, like the Overlook, it becomes a chaotic trap, illustrating how imperial systems inevitably unravel. Kubrick's critique, tennis as a microcosm of imperialism. By including the tennis ball and evoking themes of dominance and control, Kubrick slyly critiques the legacy of Western imperialism. The Overlook Hotel, like the sport of tennis, represents a veneer of sophistication masking a brutal history. A game of power. In both tennis and colonialism, power is exchanged in carefully choreographed volleys. Kubrick's use of the tennis ball highlights this dynamic, showing how the past continually serves its abuses into the present. The Overlook as a Wimbledon for the wicked, the ghosts at the Overlook are like spectators at an eternal match, applauding each new act of violence. Jack's descent into madness becomes a kind of dark championship, with the hotel rewarding his worst instincts. Conclusion. A match point for madness. Through its use of tennis imagery and themes, The Shining reveals the dark underpinnings of Western colonization and the abuses of power it perpetuated. The Overlook Hotel, with its impossible geometry and ghostly inhabitants, serves as both a tennis court of history and a graveyard for imperial guilt. So, the next time you watch The Shining, keep an eye on that tennis ball. It's more than just a spooky prop. It's a reminder of how power, like a perfect serve, is often wielded with precision, elegance, and devastating impact. And if you ever find yourself in a game at the Overlook, remember, in Kubrick's world, the house or hotel always wins.